Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another very simple to build farm guide for the Valheim Mistlands, in which I'm gonna share a new, super effective Draugr Entrails and Trophy farm to get all the juicy sausage you will ever need. This baby will be up and running in no time, as it needs little resources and terraforming. No wolves or whatsoever, so I'm gonna walk you through setting it up in just a couple minutes, with some bonus tips for even more efficient farming during the video as well. Let's get right to it. Alright, so what you're gonna do first is locate a Draugr village. These can be found pretty commonly in meadows, but only a little bit away from the starting area or spawn. Inside the Draugr houses, you have a chance of finding body piles, which are basically the spawners for the Draugr. So if you kill them in the area, they will basically keep coming back. Sometimes, if you are a little bit lucky, you can find multiple body piles very close to each other, which allows you to make even more farms right next to each other for even more efficient farming, which I'm going to share in another video. But what you want to do once you've located one is make sure to first take out all the Draugr so they cannot accidentally break the farm, and then you want to wait for two to respawn from the spawner itself. If they are archers, I recommend you to take them down, as they can be pretty annoying. So just wait for the melee guys to pop up, and then you're gonna dig a hole right next to the body pile and Spartan kick these fellas in there. So you disable the respawning, as the body pile can only summon up to 2 Draugr at the same time. What you want to do next is slap down a workbench and remove the entire building around the body pile. And then you should have something that looks a little bit like this. 2 angry Draugr in the pit. Mine are 2 archers, which I totally regret later in this video. But also a flat surface with the body pile ready for terraforming and start with our build. Before we start with our design, I definitely recommend you to flatten the area a little bit more so you have more space to work with. And then we're going to take out a log beam 4 meters. You're going to place one side right in the middle of the body pile so we can snap other pieces right onto it, so we can basically make a cross design, which makes it easier to make a perfect square around the body pile so we can better plan our terraforming. To make it a little bit more accurate, we're going to take out those log beams of 2 meters and we're going to place them diagonally in every corner. Followed up with a wooden pole 1 meter and then breaking the first one will make it very simple to accurately raise ground. But now you should have something that looks a little bit like this. The next step would be to take out your hoe for raising ground. And we're going to stand in the very corner of the wooden frame right here and aim towards the bottom of the wooden pole, and then we're gonna raise the ground once, then take out our hammer and remove the pole itself. We're gonna rinse and repeat this process for every single corner so we know exactly where we need to place the walls. The next step is pretty straightforward and will require a little bit of stone, but definitely a lot less in comparison with the other farms which I've seen earlier. But this process will not really take long, as we don't have a lot of walls to place. This is basically the only thing you need to do. Raise the ground on every corner, do it all the way to the top. Make sure that it is a perfect flat surface, and then basically connect all the pillars with each other to have a nice wall around the foundation. Voila, there we have it, our perfect square pit with still some foundations in the center, which we're gonna make a little bit bigger to make the size just right for efficient farming without having to spend many resources for the killing floor itself. By the way, if you don't really fancy AFK farming, you could always use an alt account or hire a friend on a server. I myself use G-Portal all the time for both Valheim and other games, as they provide an awesome service for a great price. And if you want to support the channel and get a nice discount for your own, make sure to check out my ref link in the description. Cheers! So what we're gonna do right now is jump down into the pit, take out our pickaxe and mine away the corners a little bit, so the wooden frame of the core wood becomes visible again, and that is the indication of how large the pit should be. So don't mine away any further, make it exactly like this. If you make a mistake, you can always just raise the ground once again, rinse and repeat. But if you just carefully trim away the sides little by little to reveal the core wood, you should be pretty safe. You can always stand on the walls to check its symmetry, but once you're happy with the result, you can basically jump down and get rid of the wooden frame, which is no longer going to be necessary. It is very important, by the way, that the body pile is not covered by sand, as this can make the spawning of the Draugr bug out. So what I definitely recommend you to do is dig out a little bit more even, to make sure that the body pile hovers slightly above the ground. We're gonna cover it later, but trust me, I did a lot of testing, and if the body pile is just too much underground, it will basically also spawn the mobs mid-soil and sometimes fall through the map or even spawn outside of your walls or maybe above them, which can be pretty frustrating. So I think you should settle with something like this. This would be the perfect height, as it's the same height as the standing braziers, which we're going to use for our killing room. So what you're going to do to make this as efficient as possible. Once again, very important for the placement. You want to start off with 4 standing braziers around the spawner, and you want to place them as close as possible. Don't worry, the braziers will not deal damage to the spawner. It's just so that you want to place them as close to each other as possible, as the Draugr usually spawn in the center or just a little bit on the side of it, so then they will instantly start taking damage, die a lot faster, so new respawns can happen. You get the point, efficient entrail farming. Anyways, once you've placed the first 4, you want to place 4 more in the corners. And the textures on the ground actually indicate very well exactly where you need to place them. You want to stay in the brown zone and not go into the gray, as this is a little bit too far. On the same depth, you also want to place one exactly in the middle from the pile. And we're going to repeat this process so we have a pattern on the floor filled up the entire area. Voila, there we have it. From bird's eye view, it will look a little bit like this. So we have 4 very close to the pile itself, and then the 8 surrounding, basically on the edge of the gray texture. The next step is pretty important. You want to take out your hoe and raise ground. We're going to raise ground on the entire floor, except for 1 or maybe 2 spots. And then we're going to flatten the surface. So you basically have a clean, flat surface once again, with the braziers slightly sticking out of the floor. So they will still deal damage to mobs, but they basically cannot recognize them as objects and will not do anything against it. They have to stick out just enough so you can refuel them with coal. And don't you worry guys, you're not gonna need a lot of coal for this. But if you're interested in the numbers, with just 1 coal, it will already give you 5.5 hours time of farming. While if you fill them up entirely with 5 to 5 coal, they will last for almost 30 hours. So that means you will be able to AFK farm for many and many more hours to come. Once you've fired up all these bad boys, your farm is basically ready. Let's get out of this oven and take out the 2 Draugr, which are still trapped in the little hole right next to it. And what you should also do is flatten the surface afterwards, as I experienced some weird spawning sometimes when have a lower ground next to the spawner. They will sometimes spawn right here as well. So you want to prevent that at all times. We're also going to make it look a little bit nicer once again. Replant some grass, take care of nature basically. And that is pretty much it. Now the farm is fully operational. You can see the damage tick, so that means the Draugr are suffering inside the reactor core. And if we just check it out for a second with the free fly camera, you can see that it's working like a charm. Up to 2 Draugr will constantly spawn in this killing room. The floor will set them ablaze and they will slowly die a horrible death. Before you know it, this place is going to be filled with entrails and trophies, so you should also have a nice place to AFK and store those belongings, right? What I like to do is take out the wooden floor 2x2 and snap one in the very center, almost the top of this wall, let's say, and place 2 more on the side so we have a nice foundation. We're going to extend that one a little bit towards our direction and then place some walls around it. And there you have it, a perfect AFK platform. You're not gonna need anything else, but it would be nice if you also add a staircase to it, so it will be easier to access this platform, as well as some chests, so you can store all the valuables looted. In the first chest I would place entrails, while in the second one you can put the trophies, and the third could be a coal storage chest, while you're not gonna need a lot of that. I'm already working on a super efficient surtling farmer for surtling cores as well as coal, so you never have to chop down trees anymore, but that one is gonna be for another time. Ladies and gentlemen, a big thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments what you think about this design, and of course, if you want to see more Valheim, don't hesitate to subscribe, as there is a lot more coming your way. I already made a very efficient Grey Dwarf farm with pufferfish, which you can check at the top right of the screen. Right now though, I want to wish you an awesome day. A big thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.